Hey everyone, so I went on a run this morning and I had this mind-blowing epiphany, kind of an insight if you're in research, or a breakthrough, something that kind of shifted the way I think about things, and I want to share it with you. It has to do with time, and specifically pockets of time. Okay, so let me explain. Time is an interesting thing, and it's something that I'm certainly extremely interested in, have been for a long time. If you followed any of my videos or my Facebook page, you'll see a lot on the topic of time, and it is for good reason, because what I've come to realize is one of the major differentiators between someone who's starting their journey and someone who is extremely successful is this concept of time, that successful people do things different with their time than unsuccessful people. And I think that's a very true concept. So time is very fascinating to me. It's the one resource you can never get back. It's the most valuable thing that you have control over. And so why not talk about it? Why not figure out this beast we call time? Now, there's some few phrases that we throw around that have to do with time. One of them is, I've got time to kill, or I'm going to kill a few minutes of time. And we use this word kill as if time were a beast and we're trying to get it out of our lives. I'm going to want to kill it. I'm going to kill time. I know we don't literally mean that, but think about the word that you're using when you say, I have time to kill, or I've got to kill 10 minutes of time. So I was just killing 10 minutes and I was on my phone and I was surfing the web or surfing my social media page or whatever it is. That's just an awful word to use as it relates to time, the most valuable, precious thing that you have that you can never ever get back. Why would you want to kill even a minute of time? Anyways, I'm not saying don't do social media. I'm not saying don't relax. I'm saying do it intentionally, make the decision. Don't just kill time just to kill time. You got 5 minutes. But this is the second thing it goes into, is this idea of pockets. We also talk about this pockets of time that we have. We have pockets. That's another interesting word that we throw around as it relates to time. So that's what got me started thinking down this train of thought, was this idea that we don't have blocks of time, but we do have pockets of time. So let me unpack this. Let's say that someone gives you an assignment and they let's say, or a project, and let's say the project takes you 3 hours. Okay, so the first thing that you should do is check, unless it's your boss and you have to do it, or your manager or something, then first thing you should do is you should check and see, does this align with my one main goal that I'm working toward right now? Does this align with what I'm trying to do with my life? Does it align with my values? Okay, if the answer is yes, then move forward, and the next question you should ask is, do I have time for it? How much time will this take me? Now, here's what, and this is my theory, so this is, I don't have this backed up with evidence, but here's what I think. When we hear of a project and we hear it's going to take 3 hours to do, I think subconsciously we look at our planners, our schedules, and we say, I don't have 3 hours somewhere. How am I going to do this? So our brain goes into freak out mode and we go, I don't have time for that. You hear us say that a lot, right? Don't you hear that a lot from people? Well, I don't have time for that. How does anybody have time for that? Well, you're right. To block off 3 hours is a very difficult thing. You'd have to set aside all the tasks that you were going to do during those 3 hours, which is inconvenient, which means you have to reschedule a lot of things. If it's important enough, we'll do that, right? That's how we do vacations, is you have to block off everything you were doing to be able to leave and go on a vacation. So unless you take your life with you everywhere you go, which some people do, but for a lot of people, especially those with jobs, you have to get ahead of schedule. You have to get all caught up on your work, and you have to let everybody know. You have to turn on your autoresponder. And when you come back, you've got a pile of emails and a pile in your inbox and all this stuff to do to catch up from all the work that you missed on your vacation. So we don't like the idea of having to block off and move everything aside, even for 3 hours, just so we can accomplish what we wanted to do during for that period to get that project done. And so we look at it and we go, I don't have 3 hours. And we go, never mind. And there you go. So we freak out and our brain goes into this mode of, not so much. I don't have time for that. So that's where we hear that from. I truly believe it's because we think in terms of this block of time. It takes 3 hours to do it. I don't have 3 hours to do it. Therefore, I can't do it. Well, now let me go back to the pockets idea. What if everything we considered was this idea? If we took an idea of, if it takes 3 hours to do, and we look at it in terms of in 3 hours, if it takes me 3 hours, it can take me, oh gosh, I'm not good at math, but let's say 3 hours, 180 minutes. So let's say it takes 10 minutes for 18 days. Okay, those are pockets. Everybody has pockets of time. This is another theory that I don't have proven, but I think everybody would agree with me. We all have pockets of time. Nobody is filled up 100%. If you're filled up 100%, and you don't even have 5 minutes here and there during the day, then you're going to max out. You're going to explode. You really are. Nobody can sustain that. I mean, everybody has to have downtime. It's just a matter of what you do with that downtime. So when you get a 3-hour project, you can say, okay, 3 hours. How do I block off 3 hours? And you go, I can't. I mean, I guess I can, but I certainly don't want to. It's not important enough for me to do that for this project. So no, I don't have enough time. Then we get into that, right? So the other option then is to break down your time. When you hear of a project, think 3 hours. That's 18 days of 10 minutes apiece, of 10-minute increments. So now we're looking at the project in terms of small blocks of time, or pockets. Pockets, right? This idea of pockets is fascinating because we all have pockets and they add up. If you add up all the pockets you have in your day, you might come to a couple of hours at the end of the day. I mean, think about it. Every time you're standing in line, every time, if you go to the DMV, if you're at Walmart, if you're even drive time, right now is my drive time, and you calculate all these pockets, lunch break, going to the water cooler, or checking emails, and there's all this downtime even at your desk where you're just doing things that don't necessarily need to be done. We just kind of do them because they're in our habit, in our routine. We don't even think. We just, I don't have something to do, therefore right now I'm going to check social media or whatever. So we all have pockets, and I think it would be, and I don't know how to do this, but if there's some way you could measure all of your pockets and add them up, and at the end of the day see what that number is, I think you would be shocked at how much time you have. Okay? So when we say we don't have enough time, we don't necessarily take into account these pockets, because the pockets fill themselves. We don't consciously fill our pockets of time. I think those pockets get filled subconsciously and by default, because that's just how we're used to it. And I think the reason why that happens is because we don't value those pockets as much as we ought to. So if you have 5 minutes, what's 5 minutes on social media? Well, come on, it's not a big deal, right? It's easy to say in your mind, and you might not say this out loud or consciously, but in your mind, you're going to say something to the effect of, hey, just 5 minutes, got 5 minutes to kill, right? I'll just do a quick check-in on social media. Okay, great. Well, that in and of itself is not a huge deal. That repeated over time is a huge deal, okay? So these pockets of time could translate into projects. Okay, so what do I mean by that? When you get a project and it's 3 hours, don't think 3 hours. Here's the insight. This is the way you change what you're thinking. You don't think, gosh, 3 hours, how am I going to do that? Think, at 10 minutes a day, this could be done in less than 3 weeks. Sure, I can do that. 10 minutes a day, I can fit that in. I can do a 50-minute lunch break instead of a 60-minute lunch break, and spend 10 minutes at the end of every lunch break for 3 weeks, 5 days, or even just work weeks. And at the end of 3 weeks, I can have that project done. Boom. You see what I'm saying? So what it does is it breaks down this big chunks of time, and I think that those blocks are how we think of our time. But yet projects we're used to breaking down. We just don't necessarily go on the other side of that equation and break down our time to match the broken down project. I don't know if that made any sense to you or not, but we're used to breaking down projects. We're just not used to breaking down time to match the project. So that's the big insight that I had with these. We have these pockets. We may just not be using them the best way that we can. So never underestimate the value and the power of even just 1 minute well spent. Because 1 minute well spent over time pays huge dividends. In fact, that's the way that successful people have built their lives. For more on this and other insights that I have along the way, follow me to 3x5 goals or 3x5goals.com. There's all kinds of ways to follow me. Facebook, I have a Facebook group that I'm building. We talk about time, productivity, goal setting, achievement, how to get from point A to point B. If you want direct access to that Facebook group, it's all free. 3x5group.com, 3x5group.com. We're building a community and a movement, and I'd love you to be part of it. Thanks for listening in. Let me know what your thoughts are on these pockets of time, this little insight that I have. Am I crazy? Am I slow? You've known this for years? Or what do you think? All right, talk next time.